Krishna. Okay, so let me start. So thank you everyone. Welcome here. Hare Krishna. So this is chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga. So we're coming to the end of 1/3, So Bhakti Karma Yoga. Let us pay our obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nana Kashalakaya Chaktushmilmittam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let's start. So now in chapter 5 we saw Krishna was giving us the how the path of Krishna consciousness, how do we be like a lotus leaf, water and lotus leaf in the water. And then he talked about the three doers. I mean the living entity, Prakriti, and the Supreme Soul. And then how one who sees in the Super Soul, who sees everybody with the same vision. So we saw that. But then he only touched about Ashtanga Yoga a little bit, but he didn't give us full thing. So now he's giving us a detailed thing in this particular chapter. So here we get an understanding about our nature of mind, how our mind works, eightfold processes. That is the Ashtanga Yoga. Then what happens if you don't complete the perfection of yoga? And then he talks about the yoga ladder. Okay, he touches upon that. So what is yoga? So this is something very common and everyone knows about it. But what is this yoga, which is thing we know? That is, and in this chapter is very simple also to understand. Okay, so let us look at. It's a common word used everywhere. So is this yoga? I mean, we see a lot of Naga Babas, they're doing all these type of meditations, and they can be under the what? Is this really yoga? It's a question. Or there are some, nowadays there's now different versions have come. It has become a mundane exercise and a dollar business, like getting a lot of money out of it. A lot of propaganda is also there. And they're all in the name of yoga. Saying this is with a, I'm not able to minimize this. Okay. So is this yoga? So that is what we need to understand. But this was there in the Vedic times when Hiranyakashipu did the yoga on the Lord, Brahma. All his body, it was all eaten by the ants and things. He did it. So is this the real yoga, or there are so many versions have come now? Yoga chair, yoga for courtesans, yoga for mental health, yoga for pregnancy people, and the lot of books have come on that for business circles. So are we going to do this kind of yoga, or what is the yoga talked about in this by Krishna? Let us look at what is the true thing, Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. So he tells who is a true yogi. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Ya Sa Sannyasi Cha Yogi Cha Sa Niragnir Cha Chakreha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is attached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life. And he is a true mistake, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So Karyam, it is my duty to serve. So he just works because it is his duty to do, to serve the Lord. And he has renounced the fruits of it, is not attached to it. And it is not the mistake. Who doesn't light the fire means he doesn't do any duty or any work. It's not that. So he says the true yogi is one who does Nishkama Karma Yoga, and he does it as his duty because it is Karya. So it is my duty to serve the Lord, so he just does it, and it's not that he is being inactive. Okay, that is the true yogi. So definition of thing. But who can become a yogi? Again, here you get clarification by Krishna. Yoyam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi anyasyata sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga. That is, we are linking oneself with yoga, with the Supreme. So yoga is the actual meaning is that we link ourselves with the Supreme. It is not an exercise. It is not an exercise for the body. But whatever the benefits the physical body gets is the side effects. Okay. But what is the true purpose of yoga is to link ourselves with the Supreme. That is the meaning. So, linking, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So, only if you have, this is the qualification for becoming a yogi, that is, he should have no desire for sense gratification. He should be doing all the things for the Lord. So only then he can link himself, and that is the true yogi. Okay. So here is very clear. And when is the yogi to be elevated, said to be elevated in yoga, is Yada hi nendrastasho na karmanashto anusachate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudas tarochate. A man is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. So this is how he is elevated in yoga, when he has renounced all material desires. So everywhere he says that he should not act for sense gratification, and he should be engaged in the service of the Lord. Only then he can be elevated in yoga. So here in these 3 verses, Krishna is giving us a true definition of a yoga. Okay, and what is the yogi? And I think so. In all that, mind control is mandatory, because otherwise, if you cannot control your mind, you cannot control your senses. Okay, so if you have to have the desires for test, if you want to renounce that, you should. Mind control is mandatory if you want to perform the Ashtanga Yoga. So the nature of the mind, it can be your enemy or it can be your friend. Bandhur atmanas tasya anajitaha anatmanastu satrutve vartet maiva shatru. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So if you can control your mind, then it becomes your friend. It will help, it will go along with whatever you say. Otherwise, what happens? It will pull you into all directions. It is your enemy. It cannot help you in this path. So this Ashtanga Yoga, see, till now he was talking about Karma Yoga, in the last 4 or 5 chapters. So now Ashtanga Yoga is an alternative to Karma Yoga, because there are some transgenders who likes to do this kind of yoga practice. So for that, here Krishna is explaining in detail. So we see in Bhagavad Gita, he doesn't leave any aspect untold. He covers all the aspects. So now this full chapter is about Ashtanga Yoga, how there are people who believe in this. So what is this Ashtanga Yoga? There are 8, it's a 8 limb. Ashta means 8. So there are 8 steps to it. That is Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana. Yama is the external disciplines. Internal discipline is Niyama. And also the posture. He talks about the posture for the meditation, Asana. And Pranayama is your breath control. Pratyahara is withdrawal of senses. Then Dharana is concentration. Then you meditative absorption. Finally, you reach the union. That is when you link yourself with the Lord. So these are the steps, it goes into, you start from yamas, and how you have to discipline yourself. Without disciplining and without controlling your senses, you can never be successful in this yogic practice. And in all that, your purification by Nishkama Karma Yoga is important, and you should be completely detached from the material desires. Okay, let us look at what these yamas and all thing is there. So who wants to read? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah.
Yama, he should live alone in a secluded place and should always carefully control his mind.
So we have to live in a place where we should not be disturbed by anybody, and we should be able to control his mind. Okay. And can we find such a place in today? We have to think about it. Then Niyama.
Niyama says temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation.
So now he tells how we have to be in a secluded place so that you won't get distracted by the material world. Another thing is you should have a temperate in the habits. We should not eat more, nor should we eat less. Nor should we sleep more, nor sleep less. And working also, no, not to work 24 hours. You have to do a duty, okay. And your recreation, everything should be temperate. It should not be in the extreme, for that. So you should live alone and not be distracted by others. And then in your habits also should be moderate, temperate. Okay. That is the internal disciplines you should have. Then comes to asana. Go ahead, Vaishnavi. Hare Krishna.
Asana says, lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin. The seat should neither be too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. One should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me.
So now he's telling you how to sit. This is how the yogi will sit straight with his, and you would have put a deer, and deer skin is normally to avoid insects and all that. So that will help us. And it should not be too low or too high that way. And you should be in a sacred place, not in a place which is dirty or this thing. It should be clean. And he should hold his body, neck, everything in erect, and he should focus on the tip of his nose. So this way you are trying to focus your mind, the mind, this way how it gets the control, your mind gets subdued. Okay, and you should be devoid of fear. And you should meditate upon him. Okay, upon the Supreme Lord. So we saw what was the yamas, niyamas, and asanas. And next comes pranayama.
Pranayama, Hare Krishna. Pranayama says, practice stopping the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming and incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance.
So actually this was explained in the 5th chapter itself on 29th verse, where so we have given mentioned the verses also here so that you can read it later. It is given in the purport. Okay. So pranam. So once you are sat and once you have subdued and your habits, your these things on eating, sleeping, now it talks about your breathing, how you have to control your outgoing and incoming air. So once you start practicing that, controlling your life force and practicing your breathing also, that's how your mind thoughts will slowly come into a calmer position. Okay. And and many people, they might stop at with this. They think that this is okay, this is the ultimate thing in the yoga, but it's not so. It goes, there are more steps in all the yogi clubs and all that. No, they will only stop at this. They may not go further beyond that. So pratyahara. Pratyahara is cessation of material existence. So you should be detached from them. So once only when you are able to subdue your mind and when you have gone further in this discipline, then only you can reach the stage of dharana. Dharana is disciplines your mental activities and you become situated in transcendences. That is, you are devoid of all material desires and you set the Vajrayana yoga. So only by practice, that's all the first 4 steps and the 5th one, then only you can reach this step of dharana. Okay. Then comes dhyana. So as a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendence whose mind is controlled. See, and this is not done in one day. Okay, it has to be done. It might take many years also of practice. Only then you can reach the stage of dhyana. Then whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental self. Where he is focused on the Lord. Then, yes, tell me.
Samadhi is one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
So finally, he will reach the samadhi. So all these steps is the 8 steps which are involved in Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. And it is go step by step. Step by step, we have to go finally to reach this samadhi. And in this was done, usually it was done in Satya Yoga, Treta Yoga thing, but in Kali Yoga, whether it can be done is something to be thought of. So now that's what the query by Arjuna is. Is it possible in Kali Yuga? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balabhadritam tashyam nigraha manye vayuriva sudashkaram.
Mind is restless, chanchalam, unsteady, asthiram, and flickering. Mind is always agitated and turbulent. It can be obstinate or stubborn, more difficult than controlling the wind.
So Arjuna, we know how Arjuna is expert, in his bow and arrow. We have seen him that he could, when Draupadi Swayamvara, he was able to shoot the arrow at the fish which was rotating there, and he looking at the reflection in the mirror on the water. He was able to shoot at the eye of the fish. But for him to say it is restless and his mind and he cannot do this, that means it must be very difficult. And it is very difficult to control the mind. He says it can rather control the wind, but not the mind. Mind is chanchala and thing flickering. So what did the Lord say? The blessed Lord said, "O mighty arms, son of Kunti, undoubtedly it's very difficult for the restless mind. But it is possible through constant practice and by detachment." So here he agrees. Even in chapter 2, when Arjuna was telling that he's sad to fight with Bhishma or with Dronacharya, because if they kill, he'll be very sad. So Krishna agrees. He says, yeah, we will be sad when our dear ones are all gone. But we have to tolerate it, like we tolerate the seasons, like summer comes, the winter comes. So people, the mothers won't deny cooking. In the summer season, it will be very hot to sit and stand before the stove and cook, but still she will do it. So she have to tolerate the heat. She will do that. Same way, we have to tolerate this sadness and all. It is the part of our life. So he agrees. He never says it's whenever Arjuna is telling, he will agree. Even now he's agreeing with the Arjuna, saying, I know it is difficult to subdue the restless mind. but only with constant practice and by detachment, means by abhyasa. Only by that you can do that. And for one whose mind is was unriddled, self-realization is difficult work, but for whose mind is controlled and who strives by right means is assured of success. So that is my opinion. So this is what uh, Krishna says, that if you can't control the mind, then self-realization is a difficult one. What is by self-realization means, that is what we are trying to go realize this science, and we are trying to understand ourselves and to go back to the Lord. So that part is difficult if you cannot control the mind. But if you can do it, and that too by right means, you're sure of success. So this is my opinion. So the Lord says that. So only by constant practice and by detachment, we can control this mind. Now another question comes by the Arjuna. What is the destination of someone who failed in achieving success in yoga? See, when he says, by constant abhyasa and all that, so it will take many years, to practice or to come to the stage of perfection. So, but we might have not have been living, or our life would have been short. So what happens to that? So he says, if you have not achieved success, you cannot reach the stage of samadhi by then what happens to such living entities? So Krishna says, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of riches, because he has advanced quite a bit, so I think so he will go to higher planets and he'll enjoy, and once his credit is over, he will come back to the Bhuloka and again take birth. And then we'll take birth in a righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So he will enjoy his punya, that goodness which has come on his account, and then he will, when he comes back to the Bhuloka, he will be born into a rich aristocratic family or to a righteous people. So nothing will be lost. Okay. But if he has advanced too much, then he will take birth in a family of transcendents who are surely great in wisdom. But such birth is rare in this world, Krishna says. So there is no lost. So there is nothing lost in trying in this path, yogic practice. You will always be born again into a nice family for that. So nothing is lost. It tells to Arjuna. Then who is the greatest yogi? I know, we all of us know it's the Narada Muni. So, and of all the yogis, he alone he always absorbed in me with great faith, worshipping in me in transcendent loving service, is more intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So yoga, we said, it's a connection with the Lord. So the one who is always thinking of him with great faith and worshipping him in loving service is intimately united with me. And he is the highest of all the yogis. So that's what Krishna says in the end. So this is like a yogic ladder. So we have talked about karma yoga, then jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga. Then now he says you have to, if you are all the time thinking about him and worshipping him, loving service, that is bhakti yoga, then that is the topmost ladder. So the way, if you are in Krishna consciousness, then you're still from the beginning itself, you're in the platform of meditation. So you're all the time thinking of things. So this is much easier than going through these 3 steps. Okay. So being in Krishna consciousness will help us to be in the platform of meditation itself from the beginning. So this is how the progress is there. Ultimately, whatever step, practice you adopt, finally you have to come to the bhakti yoga. Okay. So it's not that this itself you will get to know the Lord. You have to go back to devotional service is a must. Okay. And more about it, we are going to see in the coming chapters. So in spiritual practice, it's all about yoga. We talked about, and what was there in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto, 3rd chapter, 52 verse, talks about different yoga practices in different yugas. That is, in Satya Yoga, it was on meditation on Lord Vishnu. And in Treta Yoga, it was performing expensive sacrifices. So they used to do a lot of sacrifices as per the Vedic thing, and they used to get the benedictions. But in Dwapara Yuga, it was elaborate temple worship. But in Kali Yuga, it is chanting the holy names of the Lord is the yoga practice we should adopt. So this is the present yoga yuga, the present age chanting holy names of the Lord. Sankirtana Yagna is what been recommended by Lord Chaitanya. And that will be like, it's like taking the lift, straight away you go to the Bhakti Yoga instead of taking the steps by starting with the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, then this. Instead of that, if you take up this practice, then you are straight away in the Bhakti Yoga ladder. So, but what is this mantra doing us? Let us understand. Man is plus tra. Man means is mind, and tra is it delivers. So it delivers us from the miseries. And you can, and if you do it on your own, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, then it is known as japa meditation. But if you do with a group of devotees, that is known as Sankirtana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So they used to do a lot of, they used to go on the streets and do this Sankirtana. So then it is known as Sankirtana, okay? So, but when we are talking and they're saying Lord Chaitanya, you need to know from where we have got this. There are a lot of spiritual references for which is recommending us the chanting these holy names of the Lord. So let us look at those scriptural references. This is from Narayana Samhita. It says in the age of Kali, people should simply chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is what it says in Narayana Samhita. Whereas in Srimad Bhagavatam, again 12th canto, 3rd, here it says, Kale dosha nide rajan, asti hi eko mahan guna, kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param praja. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is full of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. It is that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So this will help us to get free from the material bondage. Okay, from the thing. That's how we can get slowly by practicing this chanting daily, slowly, gradually, our detachment takes place. Okay, we need not to do it forcibly. Just adopting this chanting process, that itself will help us to come out of this material attachment. And in this Upanishad, Kalina Satrena Upanishad, it is something, I'll just go into English. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Iti Shodashkam, that is 16 names, Namnam Kali Kalamsha Nashana, Nata Paratropaya Sarva Vedeshu Dishti. After searching through all the Vedic literature, one cannot find a method of religion more sublime for this sage than the chanting of Hare Krishna. This comes from this Upanishad. Then this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 17.20 now. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eve Kevalam, Kalo Nasti Eva Nasti, Eva Nasti Eva Gatir Anyata. So here it says, in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Kalau nasti, eva nasti, eva nasti, eva gati ranyata. So there is no other way other than this, because this age is full of quarrel and hypocrisy. And that is increasing on the higher level, but it's not decreasing. Okay. As the days go by, this will increase. So the only way we can take the shelter is shelter of the holy name. So even in chapter 10, Bhagavad Gita, 25th verse, it says, of sacrifice, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. So we have all these scriptural references, okay? It's not a reference given by ISKCON. It is a references given in the scriptures for Kali Yuga. So there are certain do's and don'ts in chanting, So which you need to think. Where before we chant our mantra, we normally chant the Panchatattva mantra before starting to chant this Hare Krishna. Why we do that is we want to invoke the blessings of the all these acharyas. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Srivasa Adigaura. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasa Adigaura Bhakta Vanda. So we ask benedictions from all of them, all these Vaishnavas, before we start the chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Okay. And then we should chant audibly, not so loudly, but loud enough to hear the mantra when you're doing it. I will share this. There's a lot video is there. We will share in the WhatsApp so that you can go through it leisurely. Then pronounce each name distinctly. Don't mumble it, and chant with respect, devotion, and concentration. Okay. You should chant and you should hear it. Okay. And don't bother about where the mind is going. You can chant in any place, sitting or walking, facing any direction, or at any time. You can chant either before or after taking bath. And it's better to keep an account, because counting will be help us to, when you have a touch with the beads, it will be like, you're having some connection. So you want your mind, though it wanders, you can bring it back to the chanting process. So that is thing. And it is chant by count, preferably on a Tulsi Mala. And we like to do it in the Brahma Muhurta, early in the morning, so that you are not bothered about the activities, and you'll be calm and your mind will be calm. And that is a good time to do it. Okay. And the don'ts of chanting are there, where you should not chant on this beat. This is known as Krishna beat. Okay. This top one. You should chant only on this. So one should not chant on the Krishna beat of the Japamala. Then, and you should not chant while reading a book or newspaper or watching TV or anything. You should focus on the chanting and hear what you're chanting. Okay. And benefits. We look at the benefits of chanting. And it comes really from unwanted drives and habits. And in our present condition, we are slaves to our whimsical thoughts and desires. Okay, so we can come out of this. And this has done wonders to many people. So it does work. Then you get from the reactions of sin. Freedom from anxiety and stress gives us peace of mind and real happiness and enlightenment. Because we slowly, our mind gets subdued. So this is how we get real happiness. And this is how they used to do in the streets of New York and all the Western countries. You see, they did adopt it. And this is in India. And what people say about chanting Hare Krishna. Let us take here some people. Here is about George Harrison. He says it's really process of having realization of God. He was a true devotee, though he was in a lot of musical albums and all he has brought out, but he was a true devotee, and this is what his experience is. And there are so many great personalities. This is Alfred Bosch from Bosch Company. We just go through them. Everything started happening for me when I began chanting Hare Krishna. Who is this? He is the youngest director of 3M France. He was 29. And chanting Hare Krishna has made a tremendous impact in my life. So this is Alfred Rush Ford. He's the owner of Ford Motors. And in fact, he has given a lot of contribution to the temple which is coming up in Mayapur, So there are a lot of things. He's there in this. Here he looks very young, but he's quite old. And when he met Prabhupada, he was just in his teenagers. So, and that made a lot of difference in his life. And he became, but he didn't leave his company or anything. Being in that, he was contributing to a lot in the Krishna consciousness. Okay. And he was that. I have been chanting Hare Krishna for many years and have never found anything more pleasurable. This is Mr. Desai, leading Indian industrialist. Okay. And chanting Hare Krishna has helped me face all the ups and downs in my life with a confidence and peace of mind. He is Rishikesh Mafatlal Fabrics. And this is a famous model. Chanting helped me give up bad habits. It changed my vision of things. See, from this, she has changed to other lot of change. She is a Dutch model. By starting to chant Hare Krishna, I feel tremendous happiness. Again, she's a model, leading European model. Okay, they all found it, though they were fame and everything, fame and beauty, but they were not happy. And they found more happiness in this once they started being in Krishna consciousness. He's an army officer. My outlook towards life is a lot more brighter after starting to associate with Hare Krishna devotees and chanting the Maha Mantra. And this person is an army officer, Bruce Greenberg. Okay. And he's an Italian. Chanting makes me feel close to God. So Marco Ferrari, Italist of furniture designer. And this is a very interesting person. Maha Mantra significantly reduces stress, depression, mode of ignorance, and considerably increases mode of goodness. And why he is saying that? Because he is a research. He has done a lot of research. He is a David Wolf, Master of Social Science program at Florida State University. He was a researcher. He studied the effects of chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He did a lot of studies and he saw the effects on the people, and that was his thesis. And he found that it had a great effect. When I'm stressed out, I chant. It's one thing which charges my batteries. It clears my mind and brings me back in focus. This is beyond a printing executive. You know how printing people know when they have to bring out this newspaper on time and every day, before the morning it should reach the people. So they are all very much tied up and stressed, and the news should be attractive and it should be up to date. So there is a very stressful work. So he finds that this chanting helps him a lot. When I'm nervous, I find chanting very calming. I don't get shaken up little things. She's a merchandiser, a business lady. And he is chanting Hare Krishna and reading authorized books on Krishna consciousness has brought me great peace. This person is Ramesh Lal, Toronto Health Spa proprietor. So you can also chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we stop with this. So what did we see in these last 6 chapters? We talked about Ishvara. Is 3 stages of realization: Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan stage. And he is the proprietor, controller, and well-wisher. Is a Bhoktara and transcendental knowledge. We learned about him, and we found that he is the one who gave the science even to and science to the sun god, and then it came to Ikshvaku. So it came to the earth 2 million years ago. Then we talked about the jivas. Then he gave us the Atma Tattva. That is, we are the soul and not the body. Okay, it started from that philosophy. We are the part and parcel of the soul. And our thing is dharma is to be engaged in service of the Lord. Then if we do that, we don't get any reaction. So we talked about Krishna, about jiva, then also on karma. So Swadharma, the prescribed duties, he said we have to do it because duties will purify our, it's a purification process, and we should be aware of what vikarma is, what is karma and akarma. Karma is the one which we do with not attachment to the results. So that is a step. Start off with the karma yoga, then slowly we can progress to nishkama karma yoga, and then ashtanga yoga is what we saw today, and finally reach. But if you take up to Krishna consciousness straight away, by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you are already in the bhakti yoga thing there itself, because you'll be meditating on the Lord's name, and then the purification is built in that process. So, and more in the coming chapters, we are going to talk about Prakriti and Kala. So this is only, we have touched a little bit in chapter 2 and chapter about Kala also, but we will see more in coming next 12 chapters. Okay. So with this, we can stop. This is what I summarized it. I think Mancha Kalpatura Beshta Patitamna Paveto Hare Krishna.